Well, we got another video on Nate Schmidt, and this isn't really one that has too much concrete information, and forgive me for that. I know I'm making a video as if it's gonna be a big deal or whatever, but I'm just talking about what the insiders are saying. So at the end of the day, I'm just kind of repeating what's said on air, and because that is interesting to me, I thought it would be okay to make a video about it. But I will say, the way that this information has been shared, it's as around the bush as you can get. So today we're talking about a few radio interviews done by a few notable people in hockey media. Thomas Drance was on Halford and Brough on 650 the other day, and guess who else was on 650? It's Elliotte Friedman. So what they mostly talked about was the aforementioned Vancouver Canucks defender Nate Schmidt, who was reported to potentially wanting out a while ago. It was actually Elliotte Friedman a few weeks ago, after the Canucks season ended, who had a little bit of a radio hit where he mentioned that he is hearing that some people believe Schmidt and Miller in particular would potentially ask for trades or would want out of the Vancouver Canucks system after their first and second years here. But after a bit, Friedman actually came out here and corrected himself on the Miller front because he said he reached out to JT Miller and Miller said, "No, I don't want to trade, I'm good." But for Nate Schmidt, this conversation has re-entered the picture after we heard from Rick Dhaliwal that potentially Nate Schmidt would be a guy who would want out. This is what Elliotte Friedman said on a radio hit yesterday on The People's Show with Satyr Shah, Dan Riccio, and Randeep Janda talking about Nate Schmidt. The quote on the video says, "I think everybody kind of knows where everyone stands. That maybe Nate Schmidt would like to go somewhere else," Friedman says, and that maybe the team recognizes the marriage isn't necessarily going to work out for both sides the way everybody had hoped. And that's one small quote out of this entire, minute 30-second long video. And the video honestly kind of goes around in circles quite a bit. It's like my own videos over here on YouTube. Not gonna disrespect Elliotte Friedman, that's just kind of how it is. Elliotte did say that he doesn't know if it's a formal trade request, and he said that if he reported this stuff anytime earlier in the year, it would have been premature reporting. So now he's talking about it because that notion just won't go away. It's honestly kind of the similar thing as to what Rick Dhaliwal said a few days ago, which is why this Nate Schmidt thing has even been brought up in the first place, where he was hearing that people are telling him that Schmidt might want out, he just doesn't know why people are saying it. The summary from Taj says this: basically, Nate Schmidt has not made a formal trade request with the Canucks, but he would like out, and the Canucks are trying to move him if they can. Elliotte mentioned from the Canucks side that they may have realized that Schmidt may not be the best fit here either. Not enough for your discussion, though? Alright, here's Thomas Drance. He was on Halford and Brough, and he said this stuff. This is what Reddit user L. Rizzy said on our Canucks, because they transcribed the entire radio hit. It's easier for me to screenshot this and put it up on the screen here, so thank you so much to L. Rizzy. Drance says that he thinks that what's for sure is that it was a frustrating season for Nate Schmidt in Vancouver. Obviously, he didn't perform up to the expectations that he had set for himself in his previous seasons with Vegas, and Drance does think that Schmidt wasn't alone among a group of veteran players who were disappointed in their first year and their experience with Vancouver, and a lot of that came to a head during the outbreak that the club dealt with in April. Drance does think that there is something to the rumors, but he doesn't know if there's something as dramatic as a trade request that has been made. Drance also does not believe that the Canucks have a ton of options in terms of a deal that moves out salary that the Canucks can make to improve their hockey club. He says that I think that the Vancouver Canucks have informed Nate Schmidt's camp that Benning will do whatever it takes to improve the club. That to me means that there is some smoke to this sort of discussion, some of these rumors, but the extent of it is being played pretty close to the vest. He also says that Edler and Schmidt wasn't really a good fit, that Edler needs speed and a two-way mindset to match with him at the end of his career, and he thinks that Troy Stecher fit that better than Nate Schmidt, who was defensive and was fast enough to cover for Edler's foot speed. And honestly, I kind of do agree. Drance says that he thinks that Nate Schmidt is too much of an offensively calibrated guy to match with Edler, who can play the tough minutes, but he just wasn't the right fit to make it work. And honestly, I kind of do agree with that. Nate Schmidt, while having a few really nice razzle-dazzle highlights once in a while, wasn't really the best this season compared to what we thought he would be. He's a 29-year-old left-handed defenseman. He plays on the right side, and he's making $6 million until 2025. He put up 15 points in 54 games this season. It's notable because in similar games played last year, he hit 31 points, so he halved his production this year with Vancouver. And again, I'll say this for the third umpteenth millionth time here, Schmidt was honestly pretty okay. And I say pretty okay because he is a talented defenseman who did show off that talent once in a while. But all the bad stuff with Nate Schmidt this year, man, it was really bad. Terrible giveaways, terrible turnovers, getting hemmed in his own zone, and some pretty bad passing metrics, I believe, earlier on in the year. Nate Schmidt had himself what was a really strange season for a guy that most people would have considered last year to being pretty good. Maybe not worth the $6 million a year price tag, but still pretty good. And so now we take a look at where we are today, where the Vancouver Canucks, after acquiring Schmidt for a third-round pick, might be in the realm of trading him soon. Not because there's a formal trade request, but maybe because Schmidt just would prefer to take his career elsewhere, and the Canucks might not have seen a long-term benefit to that marriage. See, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. All this stuff with Friedman and Drance, nothing is concrete. This is the most maybe around-the-bush kind of video that we've made in a while. But because you take a look at where things are, I honestly do think that there is a little bit of discussion to be had here. On this Reddit post over here, Appeal to Reason 16 made a point that I really wanted to bring up over here. It's pretty easy to see there having been a frank discussion from agent or player and the GM that basically went, okay, I'm Nate Schmidt, I'm 29 years old, I'm making this amount of money till 2025, I want to win. I'm not convinced this could be the place to do that, so what about a trade? And Benning's response could have been, hey, just wait while I make some moves and then decide. I can't imagine Nate Schmidt was thrilled about going from a perennial cup contender to a perennial, hey, if it wasn't for injuries and bad luck every year we make the wildcard team. So just circumstantially, if you try to think about it from the player's perspective, it would make sense if a guy like Nate Schmidt, who was brought in for a year and who really didn't perform well, according to his standards at least, would maybe see value in a fit elsewhere. A fit where he's on a team that could be contending for a cup. And I guess the Vancouver Canucks might be able to contend for a cup sometime in the next few seasons, but what's that team going to be led by? It's going to be led by Bo Horvat and Pettersson and Besser and Miller and Höglander, Podkolzin, and Demko. A lot of the younger guys are going to be the mainstay players on this team. So for guys who are older and who had particularly bad years, it doesn't surprise me to even think about the idea that they might be interested in a fit elsewhere. Now, that's not universal. Obviously, it's not. There are players like Beagle and Sutter and Edler and Myers that might be fine with sticking around on a team like this. Maybe they just really like the room. But for a guy like Schmidt, who has been here for literally only one season where he didn't have any time to get to know his teammates outside of the rink, had no real opportunities to explore the city because there were lockdowns and restrictions everywhere, and the entire stuff going on with the team as well, definitely wouldn't make it for a great experience as a first-year welcome to Vancouver kind of year. You're going to be staying here for the next 5 years of your life until you're 35 years old. So talk to me in the comments, I guess. What goes on with Nate Schmidt over here? Because the entire spectrum of comments we have seen from the media, it's all around the bush, it's all hypotheticals and maybes and all that, which isn't, it's not bad, it's just nothing is concrete. So I'm personally just kind of opening my mind up to all possibilities. If Nate Schmidt comes back here and plays for the Vancouver Canucks in 2021-2022, I won't be surprised. But if the Vancouver Canucks end up trading him to a team that is a lot better than Vancouver, I wouldn't be surprised as well. At the very least, Jim, just try to get a third-round pick or more back, because we gave up a third-round pick for this guy. He played on our team, wasn't really the needle mover we thought he would be. If we trade him for anything less than a third-round pick, it would literally just be buy high, sell low. So try to get a third-round pick. Try to even out the value and try to at least break even here. So talk to me in the comments what you thought about this Nate Schmidt update. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.